Welcome back to the morning brief. As we keep our eyes and ears in the direction of Ibadan to get updates as to what's going on there. We'll keep the conversation going as things break and happen. We'll bring you up to speed. Now, we're switching gears. We talked about young people being quite a number in the country. In fact, they're about over 70% of the entire population of Africa's most populous nation. So it's quite important to note that these young people can swing things in any direction. So it's only natural that their voices are heard across board, whether it's politics, the economy, any area, not just social media. They need to have their voices heard because they have what to bring to the table, which is why we've converged and this panel together, put together a panel of these young gentlemen who are youths in different political parties. As we take a look at the state of the nation, especially assessing the president's performance so far as this administration is concerned, we're being joined right here in our Lagos studio by the director, Big Tent, formerly Obidati LP Presidential Campaign Council, Mr. Salvation Alibo. Mr. Salvation, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We also have joining us from our Abuja studios, Mr. Timothy Osadolo, Deputy National Youth Leader, PDP, is joining us from our Abuja studio. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
I also have with us a member of the All Progressives Congress, the chairman of the Progressive Forum, Mr. Abu Andrew. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I know that when we have conversations like this, Mr. Andrew, the party in power does a lot of the heavy lifting, naturally, because you're the one in charge and being responsible for what is going on in the country. But let's say that at any point in time, many of you gentlemen can come in if you want to object or want to say something whilst the other person is talking. I'll give you that opportunity. It's a conversation, so let's have this conversation as much as possible. Maybe let me start from the security situation from where you are, Mr. Andrew. Abuja is supposed to be Nigeria's safest city, given the fact that it is the nation's capital. But at the very seat of power, even in the previous administration, we've had guards at the presidency even being killed and all of that. And now we're seeing this resurgence of insecurity in the nation's capital. Does the APC have a grip of security in the country?
Well, I think, first of all, my heart goes out to the people of Oyo State. I want to condole with the entire state for the explosion that rocked Ibadan yesterday. We pray that the story so far won't be worse than what it is at the moment. So back to your question, insecurity is a global problem. Yes, we live in Abuja, and there has been incidences here and there. And it seemed like there is a resurgence of kidnapping and maybe robbery, if I may. Now, I don't think there is any time we can say insecurity has been completely wiped out of, the Nigerian system. Okay, I know that as at yesterday, the FCT minister had a security meeting with all the security heads in the FCT, and because of course it's a cause for concern for everybody, that at this time of our life we are having a resurgence of something that we thought was we're coming out of, so again, I'll always say this: insecurity is for everybody. Okay, security of a nation, of a state, everybody must be a part of it. The citizens, the state actors, and I mean everybody has to play a part and play a role in it. So for me, we all need to come together and see how we can solve this problem of insecurity that is bedeviling us. It's not just in the FCT. We have other states that are also experiencing their own kind of insecurity. You know, so yeah, everybody must play a part in it.
While everyone must play a part in tackling insecurity by providing intelligence, and helping security agencies, I believe the direction, the focus of Jeffrey's question really is if the APC-led government has clarity and the policies as far as security is concerned are well directed to equipping security agencies with their primary responsibility, of securing lives and property. Jeffrey always quotes Section 14 of the Constitution, and we could talk about the carnage on the plateau recorded in December, and so many other security challenges. So while you reflect on that question again, I'd like you to respond on the efficacy of the policies of the federal government to respond and tackle effectively the security situation in the country. Just before we head to Mr. Osadolo, I'd like you to rethink that question again, sir. Okay, so I know if there's one thing I know is that one, our population is rising by the day. And as at the last I checked, we have not had any major recruitment into any of the military agencies in the country. And what that means is that we would always have challenges to tackle insecurity the way we should tackle insecurity as it stands today. Okay, and I mean, Nigeria is a huge land expanse, and the number of security agencies we have definitely does not match our population. So of course, I know that the previous administration was making arrangement, for employment of, citizens into the respective security agencies we have in the country. Okay, and I know that government is a continuum. This government is also looking in that direction to increase the workforce of the security agencies we have in this country. And, if that is not done, the response and military people or military personnel or security agencies, being at a place where possible, incidents can occur, we will always play catch up when it comes to, insecurity in the country. So I think in the coming months, there should be a huge employment level into the security agency, so that this can, help to stem a lot of issues on ground. I know, no matter how much we look at, the situation we have on ground, it can never take away the fact that security is for everybody to be concerned about. And because at the end of the day, the citizens of this country are the ones that still perpetrate this carnage. Okay, so we would always have to still find a way to get everybody to see a reason why, everybody must play a part and everybody must stay away from crime. Because at the end of the day, it is us as a people that can tell ourselves the truth and see how, we can avoid anything that is going to, create insecurity. Because, I mean, people are not, we just have few incidences where you have external intervention when it comes to insecurity. A lot of the kidnappings and all the things happening around in this country is caused by Nigerians. And, a lot of values have been lost over the years. We need to really, really do a whole lot. And that's why I said it is not just a government problem to solve.
All right.
Everybody must be a part of this process.
All right, Mr. Andrew, let's expand the conversation. Let's bring in Mr. Osadolo and Mr. Alibo on this one as well. Same question, your thoughts on this. Perhaps you might want to speak to what happened in Ibadan as well. But security, over to you, Mr. Osadolo.
Well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to the victims of the Plateau and the Oyo crisis, incidences. It's quite unfortunate that this has to happen at this time of our lives. And I pray God provides succor for those that are bereaved and those that are at loss. The truth is that my brother just said so many things without saying so much as to address what the issues are. And why do I say this? The only thing I will agree with him is that so many values have been lost. Yes, so many values have been lost in the past 8-9 years of the presidency of the APC-led government, because we have not seen where crime and what do I call it, related vices have become institutionalized in this country. The truth is this. When you place emphasis on state security, on regime security over state security, you are bound to have situations like this, because the people are at the mercy of whatever happens to them or whatever comes their way. The incidences we are talking about, all the way from the carnage in Plateau to the incidents in Oyo, can never happen to the elitist government of Nigeria today, members of the elitist government and their families, because they are well protected and they live in very, very protected abodes. The truth is that security doesn't have to be a responsive business. A well-thought-out government, a government that is coordinated and organized, should have a robust plan for prevention, not only prevention, tracking, monitoring, and dealing with insecurity, as the case may be, on a case-by-case basis. My brother said the institutions the institutions in this country are not enough. They are more than enough. We have the NIA, we have the NSA, we have the police, we have the DSS, we have the road safety, we have name all of them, and they're all taking chunks of our budgets annually. There's no value as to do for it. Now, a system or a government that throws away its elite cadre on the political, because of politics, over 300 generals in their prime that will have spent billions of naira to train to that level in this country have been thrown away because the commander-in-chief wants his own man as chief of army staff or chief of defense staff, or because he wants his own man as IGP or IGP. You throw away our brilliant minds, our brilliant hands, and our best on the altar of politics and altar of state security, regime security. And this is what the price will pay for it. When you bring incompetent people to the table to come and administer things they know nothing about. With all due respect to who is our chief of army staff today, our minister of defense today, who was a former governor in Zamfara. What was his achievement as governor or chief security officer of Zamfara State? What is his qualification in ab initio to make him warrant to become Minister of Defense of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that you and I belong to? What are the criteria through which he was made Minister for Defense, one of the most important agencies in this country, if not in the world? Look at the other man from former Governor Badaru. What is his business there? The truth is this: when we want to have a robust government that is for the people, then critical thinking must be done. You don't just go and play politics because one man brought money for your re-election or was able to rig votes for you in one section of the country and you are not president or you are not in government. No. The lives of Nigerians matters. The integrity of our institutions matters. And until we start seeing Nigeria as something that is priceless and a corporation that needs to be given its best for it to function effectively, we will continue having these sad stories. And why this pattern? Again, I've been wondering this yesterday after the Bodija incidents. In December, it was in Plateau, a PDP state. Yesterday, it was in Oyo, another PDP state. Are we trying to coerce? Is there a message being sent? If there's a message being sent, what is this message?
Here quickly, and as we come to Mr. Alibo, those are, as far as we know, those are totally unrelated incidents, and I imagine you're not trying to link them together, just so we present the facts as they are. But just a moment, let's expand the conversation.
The common denominator of this fact is that these two states are PDP states.
Okay, but they're totally
And that is an issue for me.
So it's important to state that out. So it's not as though we're giving air to conspiracies here. But Mr. Alibo, your thoughts on this?
Okay. Again, our prayers are with our fellow citizens of Ibadan. Okay. Truth is, the insecurity situation has become a norm in Nigeria. It's becoming normalized. Like, you don't get surprised when there is news of attacks. All right, you hear that some communities attacked somewhere in Plateau State. You just scroll past it. It's becoming normal. We're getting used to it. All right, which shouldn't be. All right, but that's to tell you how frequent this has become and how long it has lasted with us. Whilst Andrew has not spoken really to what government is doing to address this situation, I believe that you cannot really prefer a solution until you have understood the entirety of the problem. All right? I don't know how APC government today is tackling the issue. All right, because it's not just about the symptoms of the attack. Those ones are symptoms. All right, the problem of insecurities has to be tackled from all sides, starting from the root causes. Okay, deal with the enabling causes. Besides attending to the symptoms that we see, the attacks. Those ones are just mere symptoms. All right, for me, really, the real causes are hunger, poverty. All right, and if you look at the hunger, you would also see that that one by itself is another symptom caused by other things. All right, some time ago there was a study by the Zamfara state government, and it clearly showed that really the problem there began from these farmer herders clashes, began from the herders looking for new feed for their cattle, and that was caused by desertification. All right, the drying up of their grasses, and then they having to feed their cows, feed their cattle, and the cattle having to feed on the farmers' plants. All right, that's generally, you know, causes crisis between both. All right, it's okay to fight to just pour it on the politics, which by itself is just an enabler. The root cause really is actually that climate action over there. Apart from that, you also see in the mid-belt and in the southeast the case of flooding, all right, which is also affecting our farmland, which is also causing more hunger. All right, if you go down to the south, you're going to see oil spillage also affecting the farmland, affecting the trade of the people, causing more hunger. So hunger in itself is one big cause, root cause of it. Apart from that particular cause, there's also the case of the fact that there is no adequate engagement for our youths. All right, someone who is not engaged and is energetic and his mind is really proactive will definitely find something to do. And one of the things they do could be just be available for hire, for any sort of thing that really would fuel them. I mean, stop the hunger for them. All right, now, if you go over to the political side of it, which I believe is just an enabler to the whole security situation, is the fact that the government is really not doing anything to address those root causes. What would you say government is doing about tackling food insecurity, tackling desertification, tackling the flooding? All right, it's year in, year out. We'll see. This year, I can already predict we're going to have flooding. All right, what are we going to do to curb the oil spillage? How do we get the youths to be able to get a livelihood? And those things have to be tackled first. All right, so that the youth themselves will take their hands off crime, or take their hands, not be available to be recruited into criminal activities. Okay, now over to the symptoms that we see, the killing, the insecurity, and all that. I believe that treating that one, according to our manifesto, would have been best to, first and foremost, enable the security agencies. I believe that.
Okay, just while you're still holding, because I want to bring him in. You've raised a couple of issues, so I want to bring our APC man in. I did tell you you're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I had to go look for the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu when he was campaigning, because he talked about some non-kinetic approach and some kinetic approach. So I know that in the renewed hope agenda, the manifesto in the 7th page, the president has said he will form what he called a highly trained and disciplined anti-terrorist battalions known as ABAT, with special forces units that will be created. Their objective shall be to seize strategic and tactical initiative, giving terrorists and kidnappers and bandits no respite. We're not seeing that happen. What is going on? Do you have an answer? I just read from the president's renewed hope agenda when he talked about a redefined military doctrine and practice. And the gentleman can also weigh in on this, maybe as we speak on kinetic approach before we go to other conversation.
So these things are not done by fiat, okay? There's a process to everything. And I must say that insecurity or issues around security is not one that is discussed on TV. Okay, and we all know why, you know, because there must be a lot of, you know, intelligence and, you know, keeping away information on how insecurity issues are going to be tackled. Okay, that does not mean that we cannot, you know, discuss on the surface the approach. Of course, everybody that knows, the president during his campaign have said how he's going to, you know, get more people into the security agency, you know, and all those things are underway, okay? I cannot tell you specifically where they are on it, of course, but I know that it is part of the plan, because no matter what we say, the population of Nigeria is growing by the day, and our security agencies number must also increase to be able to match, you know, the number of people in this country, at least to a reasonable extent. Right now, what we have on ground is almost impossible for all the security agency put together to be able to tackle insecurity, because a lot of things that even happens in very deep villages, where before you even get to some of these villages, a lot of carnage would have been done. Okay, so we need a whole lot of things, you know, to be put into solving this insecurity we're talking about. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in 6 months or in 1 year if we want to tell ourselves the truth.
Mr. Alibo, I say it's a conversation.
I know that.
Yes, Mr. Alibo.
Recently.
Okay. Please land on your thought. Mr. Alibo wanted to respond to you. I told you it's a conversation. Okay. So he's been shaking his head. And like, I'm sure he hasn't.
I know that recently, if there was a recruitment going on where I think 2 people were even found to be from the north in the south, you know, from Lagos, and they went to Lagos State to recruit to join the military, and also all those things are ongoing. Okay, so the government is doing their bit, and I know that, you know, if we all, you know, look at these issues holistically without devoid of politics, because as far as I'm concerned, by the time we start bringing in politics into the insecurity issues we have, it will be very difficult for us to even come up with solutions to solve it. Okay, because insecurity across the country has different dynamics and have different things that is the causal effect of this insecurity, you know. So we must always approach.
I agree with him. The issue of insecurity must not be politicized. We're talking about you and I. We're talking about Nigerians. We're talking about every one of us. It's our lives at stake here. It cannot be a matter of politics. But I beg to differ with him. Yeah, it's true that why you say coupling can be done in secret, you cannot hide pregnancy, right? Okay, so if strategy is being done in secret, the result of strategy should be seen. We should see the impact in improving security in the nation. We shouldn't be living normal with the fact that a political leader is kidnapped or a security agent is kidnapped. It shouldn't be normal to us. We should see some level of improvement in the security of this country. All right? If really something is being done at the background that should not be discussed on TV, we should really see the tightening of our borders, because one major reason, one major enabler to this insecurity is the fact that our borders are porous. Firearms travel freely. All right? So we need to actually tighten up our borders. We need to see that really there's some sort of effort in that light. We need to be able to see that our security operatives are having heavy equipment to combat this insurgency, this banditry, that they are being equipped to do so. We need to actually hear at least that there's recruitment ongoing, all right, to beef up our personnel. I heard Osadolo say something about we having sufficient personnel. No, we don't. All right, NIA's responsibility is totally different from policing. All right, and policing is different from what the military is doing. All right, so what the Navy is doing is different from what the soldiers are doing, what the Army is doing. All right, so if we have all of them put together being sizable in number, however, how many of them are in the policing departments, in the policing arm of it? How many of them are actually there to tackle the insecurity on the streets? They are insufficient. And unless we have enough recruitment, enough police to man individual Nigerian citizen, then we will not be able to guarantee the security of an individual Nigerian citizen.
Speaking of which, the police force is currently, screening candidates from about last year. They recruited nearly 400,000, which has been narrowed down to, I believe, over 100 and something thousand. I'm not quite sure of the figure now. That has not been put to test if they have not been deployed to various formations yet. So we're yet to see that. And Mr. Andrew rightly noted that there's also an ongoing recruitment into the military. But we could go on and on about security. And I have another question for Mr. Andrew, since he's going to be doing much of the heavy lifting. But let me come to you, Mr. Osadolo. One of the policies of the administration, yet again, that has impoverished Nigerians is fuel subsidy. As a matter of fact, the World Bank says the regime's policy on removal of fuel subsidy and Forex have pushed more Nigerians, totaling 104 million, into poverty. But at the time of the campaigns, the presidential campaigns, your candidate and the candidate of the Labour Party had proposed that they would also remove fuel subsidy. So what would your candidates, and I'm coming to you also, sir, what would your candidate have done differently about the removal of fuel subsidy, about the consequences of the removal of fuel subsidy had he implemented it and had he won the election? I'm starting with you, Mr. Osadolo.
Well, first, let me, I want to reemphasize very clearly again and strongly, the personnel we have in our security forces are more than enough. If we pull the number of personnel you have following Oga and following Madam and staying at home washing clothes for Oga and Madam's children, you deploy them to where they should be, I'm very convinced we have more than enough personnel to do the job that they were employed for ab initio. It is, if you recruit 100,000 or 200,000 policemen today, 89% will still end up doing Oga and Madam guard duties and Oga and Madam's children's chores, until we have a professional security agencies or a system where employed personnel are deployed to what they were employed for ab initio, and not to become Madam's escort or Oga's children's escort or Oga's external gateman. Then we will still have the same problem. If you let you employ 500,000 people, they will still end up as gatemen or auxiliary security to open gates in their compounds. We must insist for a professional security agency. Until we get that right, we'll continue to have the same mistake of thinking we need more personnel. Yes, we need more personnel, but we need more personnel at their duty post than where they are currently. If you know the number of people on guard duties, on guard madam duties, or lying idle in a former general's house, or former IGP's house, or one businessman's house, you know that there's a serious problem in this country. Then back to the issue of...
Just a moment, before you go on that point, Mr. Sadolo, quickly, and I want each of us to speak to this, 30 seconds. Your principal, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, are you saying that his security details should be stripped? He should be stripped of his security details. And I'll ask the gentleman beside you and you as well. Mr. Peter Obi, should he be stripped?
If Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the PDP, has more than 1 or 2 personnel, I think all of them should be reworked.
Do you know
There's no reason you should have more than 1 personnel.
Okay, so
I don't know. I'm not a member of his detail.
Okay.
But I know it is more than 5, and it's unnecessary.
All right. What about you, Mr. Andrew? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so I agree. I agree that a lot of personnel, security agencies, agents that work with a lot of elites should actually be withdrawn from a lot of them. I completely agree. Okay. With that. There are just too many. There are just too many security agents that are following, individuals and, leaving the work they are primarily employed to do.
Okay.
So yes, I agree
principal, Mr.
with him on that. Yeah.
Senator Kingibe, other House of Reps members, are you saying that they should also be stripped?
While I believe that Peter is a very simple person, who I know very well is not really comfortable with so much display of security personnel around him. I believe that there are certain persons who are national assets and should be protected. I don't subscribe to totally withdrawing them. I believe that they need some level of protection. So you leave some security with them, not to just overburden them with so much of it. Not everybody.
So Mr. Peter Obi, what should be the minimum for him?
I think maybe 1.
1. So if he has more than 1,
or 2,
they should be strict.
Or 2, not too much.
Okay.
And Kayode, just to add to that, that was the question I was going to ask Mr. Andrew. Going through the APC's manifesto, the Renewed Hope manifesto, this is one of the promises there. Police personnel will be freed from extraneous duties such as VIP security and guard duties, VIP security and provision of security for government buildings, installations, and other critical assets will be transferred to the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. That has not been done, Mr. Andrew. Will it be done just before we return to the question on fuel subsidy?
No, Mr. Andrew, just to add to what Bukola said, we've raised 2 things on your agenda we've not seen happen. What is going on?
So it has become a recurring decimal with all the IGPs, where they come and they tell us how a lot of things are going to stop, roadblocks will stop, security personnel will be withdrawn and all of that. Unfortunately, we've not seen these things happen. And just, I agree that, measures must be taken because we actually have too many personnels, with a lot of state actors and non-state actors that are just, moving about with them, not doing the primary duty of why they were employed in the first place, So I think this is a call, to duty for the IGP to still review that statement he made, with the vigor that he came into office with. It's very, very important. We need to do that, and it still doesn't, stop the fact that we need more personnel, but just like Mr. Timothy said, we should not have personnel employed and have them start moving about with private citizens that have money or that can afford to pay, allowances to wherever, I don't know where the monies go to and all of that. Because as far as we're concerned,
sorry, Mr. Andrew.
Those things needs to be addressed.
All right, Mr. Andrew, quite noted. We're running out of time. So let me throw this to everybody, but I'll start with Mr. Sadolo. I looked at our GDP trajectory from 1960. 1981 was one of the peaks when we went from 64 in 80 to 164 in 81. We peaked again in 1998, 218. We peaked again sometime around 2008, 339. And we peaked highest ever in the history in 2014, $574 billion. These are dollars. Since then, we've not been able to climb that number. And the president has said that his aspiration is to hit $1 trillion in 10 years. Do you believe him? Is there anything you're seeing that suggests the fact that this is possible? That's to you, Mr. Sadolo, Mr. Alibo, as well as Mr. Andrew. One minute
Not
each,
forgetting
please.
the subsidy question. It was
okay, and you've not answered the subsidy question too. Okay. That is 1 minute each, please. We've got time.
No, I will take 2 minutes. One for the subsidy question and one for this last question, please. Now, for the subsidy question, please. The presidential candidate of the PDP was very clear as to how he was going to go about subsidy removal. He didn't say he would just come out and say, oh, subsidy is gone, the way we had our president do it, without clear thought processes or plans as to how to mitigate its effects. Now, if you look at the manifesto of our candidates, he was very clear as to how he was going to remove subsidy. He was very clear that subsidy has to go. But it was clear that the model refineries will have to work and work effectively. He was very clear that private players will have to take over NPC and its functions. He was very clear that a whole lot will be done to indigenize and regulate the economy in such a way that players can have access to come into the industry and operate without having to be a member of a cabal or a mafia team, as we are having currently. To tell you how bad
maybe you go straight, Mr. Sadolo. I told you we don't have time so much. So, straight question: can President Tinubu do it? 10 years, $1 trillion. Straight question.
He cannot do it. If we give him 20 years, he cannot do it. Even if we give him forever, he will not be able to match it and do it. Because all he has said he will do, he has not been able to even attempt it, not talk about doing it.
Mr. Alibo,
waiting for President Tinubu to act and deliver on his promises is like waiting for Govt.
Mr. Alibo, let's now come to you, Mr. Alibo. Mr. Sadolo has taken a lot of time, so 30 seconds, please. Can President Tinubu do it? Because this is a question. If the economy is big, you talked about the economy, so hey.
Yeah. Anybody can. Well, not anybody. Okay. Achieving $1 trillion is possible for Nigeria, okay? And even at shorter time, it actually depends largely on the proactiveness of who is in power, his willingness to do what he says he's going to do. As it stands now, I don't see that being possible because I've not seen any actions in that direction. That does not mean that it cannot be done if he decides to get it done. See, speaking to the removal of subsidy, though, every one of us did agree that we're going to remove subsidy, but the approach was different.
All right, Mr. Andrew, I'm sure you'd like to respond to some of the things they've said about the lack of confidence in the capacity of your principal to achieve a $1 trillion economy. Very quickly.
Yes, so first off, it would be unfair for me to go without saluting the courage of our Nigerian military personnel. You know, they've been very wonderful. They are doing their bit, and we encourage them to continue keeping this country safe. It's shocking that Mr. Timothy is saying that the president has not achieved anything he has said. No, he has. He said he was going to take out the subsidy, and he did.
How?
And we all know that all the candidates going into the election said they were going to take out the subsidy. And the situation we are in, the economic situation we are in, nobody would have sustained the subsidy regime. So that must be said clearly. A $1 trillion economy is possible if we as a people agree that this country will work for the greater good of all. We can achieve anything in this country. We've got the numbers, we've got the commitment, and we've got everything that it takes. Nigerians are very strong, brilliant people, and we can achieve a whole lot if we agree as a people.
Just to remind you, Mr. Andrew, that subsidy had been removed from the 2023 budget by the previous administration, and the debate continues about whether there's still partial subsidy. But we'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Abu Andrew, member, All Progressives Congress, APC, and chairman, the Progressive Forum, and also Mr. Timothy Osadolo, Deputy National Youth Leader, PDP, PDP. Thank you. Both men joined us from our Abuja studio. And from our Lagos studio here, Mr. Salvation Alibo, the director, the Big Tent, formerly of Obi Dati Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the program. And now we're approaching the high point of our edition this morning, when we bring you a very, very frank aspect of the next leg of our conversation. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this bit. We'll be right back.